Hello, everything. Hello, everyone. Hello, everything. I'm just driving on Earth in a car, specifically in North Hollywood, outside, Los Angeles, California. You can't say it's really outside. It's all Los Angeles, really. And I want to share this door handle, this hook into an experience internally within yourself, which is, what's so great about your thoughts? And the door that I aim to open with that door handle is this, which is, I realized, and it all is in my framework. If you're new to this channel, then in a nutshell, I'm expanding on this concept that I was shown, that was part of my awakening process, that has been this slow process over the past 9 years, basically, that I was shown a reality that was greater and more expansive and also more true. More true meaning more objective, less subjective, as according to this human's lensing, or Rocco's identification process or framework. And I was shown this this system of non-reality and reality, and long drawn out process over the past 9 years. And the door handle into this experience for me, in my lensing and my framework with it, is called Moon. And it's basically a framework for how to interface with that which is, both in the mind and, well, it's all in the mind, right? But it stands for missing out on nothing, which is a response to FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. And if you are like me or unlike me, either way, you know what the internet is. And in a nutshell, the internet turned Earth into a village and a town, which kind of takes us back to where we were before society boomed and all of a sudden we spread out everywhere. It became highly segmented as a species and compartmentalized. And so I was born in 1990 and started waking up to a reality that I was previously asleep to, or previously unconscious of. And parking this thing so I have full attention here. And it's also a great side street. Look at that. Look at this nice side street. Fantastic side street. And so what's so great about your thoughts? Like mine, me, I. And my door handle into this inquiry began when I got super depressed, and suicide was pretty much one of my top options. And this was in 2013 where that kind of peaked as an option. And just to say that it was an avoidance, I was looking to avoid life rather than be in life, rather than experience life. And the internet, I feel like, was a factor in what magnetized me towards that experience. Because in this modern day and age, marketing and advertising companies have so much money invested in knowing how our actual attention works and where our attention goes, and how to grasp that and then get us to go over here and buy a product or spend money, which is really just about energy. Money is just a form of currency, and a current, or an electromagnetic, unseeable with the human eye waveform that, what's up, dude? That in society is what we exchange value for. And I found that it was like I couldn't even figure out what I wanted, but I started to notice what I didn't want. And I didn't want life, and so I didn't want, it was this really backwards thing. But coming to this video purpose. That was a little bit of context, and I do a better job of explaining things in other videos, but for this specific video, where I just want to talk about this concept within moon theory as a modality of setting up mirrors around you so that you are being reflected back to yourself from these reference points that are showing you who you are. And some mirrors are more true than others. My left side view mirror does not say it. My right side view mirror does say it. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. So it's not a true mirror, and it's letting you know that it's not a true mirror. This is saying, well, it's not saying it's not saying it's anything, but at least this one's letting you know, hey, this is not reality. Objects are different in truth than what you're seeing them as. If only life were like that. So this idea of setting up mirrors or setting up reflections is, I found, one of the primary helpful techniques and tools in achieving a very practical sense of well-being and, as Sadhguru says, pleasant states and sustainable pleasant states. Not to say that I'm just aiming for like me all the way through, but I recognize that elation was followed by depression, and that there was this the law of hermetics points at how it's going to have to balance out. So as high as you go, you're going to have to go that low. And that's just how rhythm works, and that's how music works, which I understood because I interface with my life through a musical lensing in many ways. And so rhythm, I was understanding like, wow, the high elation is followed by this low depression. And so if I close the gap, there seems to be the same rhythm, but almost like a heartbeat that's like more steady than it is erratic. And so to have these reference points that are reflecting, you know, what is Buddha? What is he? What is it? Who is Jesus? Who is Yahushua HaMashiach? What are these words that are associated with humans who have lived lives on earth in a certain way? I think it was Terence McKenna. It might have been Greg Braden. I've been listening to a lot of people in my ears, in my headphones, walking. If I'm walking, I've been driving Lyft lately, just keep one ear in, and you're hearing someone else's thoughts. You're hearing whoever you decide to tune into. And I was tuning into, I believe it was Greg Braden, and I don't know who it was, I forget. But he was describing, whoever this was describing this idea that the actual physical image of the Buddha, you know, he's seated. No, it was this dude named Adyashanti in his audiobook. That's who it was. And he was talking about the actual visual representation of what Buddha is. He's seated. He's seated and he's still and he's serene, and he's in this place that you look at it, and I mean, it means something different to everybody, but I don't know, ask a Buddhist person to elaborate on what does the Buddha mean. But it's a visual, right? You can look at a Buddhist text and read about what it's about, but in terms of the visual, what is the you know, what's the visual for this? What's the visual for my Nike shoes? What's the visual for that? What's the visual for the golden arches over that place that sells really cheap hamburgers? There's all these symbols that point to something, and once you turn the door handle of what the symbol is on the exterior, on the surface, or on the beginning of the entering into what the experience is, you move into this threshold, and you're now in it. You're in what it was pointing at. And for McDonald's, that's, you know, a McFlurry or a double burger, whatever you want from that place. Starbucks has its own. Jesus on the cross is quite an interesting one. As Adyashanti in this audiobook was describing, you know, it's a real interest. It's the only, his term for it was God-man. Every religion has a God-man. whether it's Muhammad or Buddha or Adi Yogi or Shiva or Jesus or whoever it is. It's each religion has at least some idea or some ideal of what it is to be God manifested in a body and what that looks like. And Jesus is this interesting one because he's dying. He's on this cross, and he had just asked for God. Like, he went through this whole thing. Adi Ashanti's description of it is a beautiful one, and it's his own experience of it. But what it reflected back to me about my own experience was how I'd been seeking this symbol that could give me some kind of access into what I identified as a pleasant state. I wanted to love life. I wanted to enjoy life. And I think the word that I was looking for was fulfillment. I was looking for fulfillment. And so what is the Buddha? He's sitting, he's serene, he's still. What is it pointing at? It's a symbol. What is that symbol pointing at? Well, it's pointing at like a center point, like a return place, a place to return to. And every symbol is pointing at a different thing for the most part. Saying all this to say, these are words that I heard through headphones spoken by another human who had an experience about a reference point called Buddha. What are so great about the thoughts that we're thinking? Nothing really. At least for me, I found that a big part of my crisis of identity, let's not even start there. My crisis of life is this conflict and the back and forthness. And there's sometimes where like rage comes and, then it passes. And then happiness and like joy and like, then it passes. And then there's this place that's always there, and then there's these waves of emotional states that pass, and then we're not them, but we experience ourselves in the context of them, almost like seasons. I'm here at the corner of whatever street in North Hollywood, and this intersection is going to be just like that in 6 months. It's going to be just like that, but different. It's going to be a slightly different weather, and who knows, there may be traffic, there may be an accident, maybe different things happening, but this is going to be here. So we're going to be here. This is going to be here. But what exactly about this? I'm not the human. Where am I exactly? This is all part of my initial inquiry. And what I want to bring this video back to being about, which is what are so great about the thoughts that we think that we're thinking with a voice inside of our head, and we identify that voice as us. And yet I'm listening to these voices of another dude through earphones. And then sometimes I'm living life and I'll remember something and I'll hear someone's voice in the memory when they spoke it, but kind of through my filter of my version of the memory. So what are so great about these voices? I'm finding nothing really. It's really the actual main thing that's in the way of getting to the real experience. The real experience being that which is referred to as truth, the truth. That I even heard Osho say, I think recently, like, there's no one truth. Every truth is subjective. But if that's the case, then there is that which is false for every human. And then there's also that which is true for every human. And if truth is true in its truest form, then your true doesn't need to cancel another true. Your true can be informed by other truths, but if it's a real truth, it doesn't get canceled out, it incorporates and integrates. And I think that's the law of one, or the law of Ra, and the law of singularity, that we are all one in truth, and yet we're experiencing our human life as separate from others in these bodies and whatnot. And yeah, my process, my life story that I've identified with as the story has been one of looking for the right lighting and looking for where to hold myself and how to be, how to be, how to do this thing called life. How do you do it? And I just want to say, listening to other people who have found helpful things on their journey seems to be, for me, one of the best things I've found. Because I've found that the things that are, I'll say things less, the thought patterns, the thoughts loops, the thought cycles, the stories, the history, the memory that's in this head from this human's life, from young Rocco to middle Rocco to now current Rocco. It's this story that's only for me to know, and I'm the only one who's watched it happen. And some of it's added to my, it's all added to my life. Coming back to the moon concept of all of these mirrors, and I see it truly as oneness is like a ball of light in the center. And this is true, and this is true reality, which I think yoga has terms for and other people have terms for, but let's just call it the truth, the experience of truth. Not just the truth as a concept, but like the experience of truth that you experience in your physical body, that I'd experience, that we all can experience in our physical body, who all these master teachers seems to be try to tell us about it in their own context or their own lensing. And by setting up these mirrors like Alan Watts, like Terence McKenna, like Siddhartha, like Yeshua, like Adyashanti, like Terence McKenna, I think I said his name, whoever it is, setting these reference points around me and having Abraham Hicks, Greg Braden, Wayne Dwyer, Louise Hay, having Carl Jung, having these mirrors around me. They're mirrors who have been calibrated. They're mirrors who say, basically approved. They're basically like Twitter verified with the blue check. They're definitely not mirrors that say, don't trust me, I'm all jonesed out, and you can't trust these images because you're in a fun house and my mirror is shaped like a falafel. No, this is a plain surface, which in duality, in the third dimension, you need clear reflection to be able to see truth, true sight, because true sight is seeing beyond 3D, seeing beyond duality. This is difficult to do on your own, but if you put, like when you're playing Street Fighter and you have to choose who's going to be your team to come in, Marvel versus Capcom, you have an option to set up complementary, or maybe they're all the same vibe, or maybe you just have a different vibe with each one of them. Maybe you're choosing a basketball team, the point guard, the shooting guard, the small forward. Maybe you're setting up all different forms of games. I can use metaphors to describe it, but you're preparing for something. You're dressing yourself in the morning. You're deciding to conduct yourself in a certain way. Maybe you're not deciding, you're just doing it unconsciously. But for those of us who are on this path of deciding through conscious intention and application through the use of our will as to how we want our lives to be, which is referred to as alchemy, then we have choosing to do. And I've found a helpful tool for me in my process and my journey has been one of choosing my mirrors. Ralph Smart is one of them. Infinite Waters diving deep once again. It's been these little moments where people have shown me what they've learned, and I've been grateful because it's helped, and that all of a sudden my next day changes slightly because I have a little bit of information that I didn't have the day before. This is this process of seeking. This is the process of the alchemist who has decided, I can't sit on my couch. I can't accept whatever. I have to move forward. I can't check out. I can't abandon this. I can't run away from this. I have to move towards something. I'm seeking something. I'm after something. I'm moving towards something. The word striving is a different story, but we'll talk about, for now, seeking. And if there is seeking, what are we seeking? If we're seeking our highest version, the highest version that this human that you're inside of a human right now. I'm inside of a human right now. The highest version of this human that can be, seeking that. Highest meaning, highest capacity, or I think the word fulfillment, it points at it. Fulfillment more of an experiential, interior POV, highest capacity almost from an exterior POV. You can say that your experience has a highest capacity, but even from the outside looking in, kind of like looking at yourself in the mirror, you can say, this seems to have a capacity. Wonder what that is. Each truck, vehicle drives by has horsepower, has engine capacity. I'm in my good old Subaru. It's got a different capacity than a BMW that I drove. It's different. It's a different vibe. So for you, for me, finding the other things out there that can help inform us of who we are can be helpful so that we stop pulling our teeth against what we're not. If we can let go of what we're not, by seeing who we are, we can find this place. This has actually been a word that's popped in my head in the past like week or so, a couple weeks, called resistancelessness. And it's this term that basically points at, it's a door handle to turn and step into as an idea, but then eventually as an experience of a state where there's no resistance. So whether you're going to your shit job, whether you're working on your project that you dream about knowing that it's coming eventually, whether you're hanging with your in-laws, whether you're walking your dog, picking up your dog's poop in your hand in a bag, whether you're brushing your teeth, whatever it is, having no resistance sounds like a path of the word ease, and ease allowing the experience of joy to come in. And some people some people get joy from the work. Some people get joy from the big mirror of mine. Gary Vee talks about loving the dirt, talks about loving the ground and like putting the work in and the struggle. I don't know about that. I think I hear some stuff in Mr. Vaynerchuk's lensing that I don't resonate with in terms of desiring struggle. I also come from a background that lenses my lensing, Rocco's lensing is different in that. So this is all me referencing someone else's description of how life can be. But what about you? How are you going to live your life, and what are you deciding on based on what? I'm saying right now, this term of mirrors and inside of the context and concept of moon theory, that there's a light, there's a presence. Eckhart Tolle talks about it. There is a perfectness that's there, and yet we run over it. We pass it. We bypass it. We forget about it, and we get caught in these thoughts. If you got some headphones on, next time you're walking somewhere, next time you're on the train, next time you're in the car, next time you're doing something that allows you to safely multitask, find a teacher. And if you're here spending time with me, I'm grateful to be a reference point for you. I have so many reference points for me, and I'm really just passing my references to you right now as you're listening to me talk about this. So put it in and digest. And I think Bruce Lee said it. Use what's helpful and discard the rest. Nobody's going to make it better for you. Choose it. Choose it every day. Choose it every second of every day on the way to it. And then maybe we can enjoy the journey. Something like that. Watch for the reflections. Much love to you. Appreciate you checking this channel out. This channel out. And this channel out. Namaste. Blessed walking on your journey.